Okay, so I just got caught up on the second season of the Apothecary Diaries, and it is absolutely insane. Let me also really quickly just say I did see something saying there was going to be a 1 week delay on the next episode, which would be episode 43, or the 19th episode of season 2. At the time of recording, the next episode would normally release on May 16th, but we'll have to wait until May 23rd for the next episode. Also, if you're curious what my thoughts on the first season of the Apothecary Diaries are, I have 2 videos out now on my YouTube channel covering that, so go check those out. But without wasting any more time, I want to jump right into the second season because there's so much I want to talk about. I'll start off just by mentioning I really like the introduction of Mau Mau the cat, and although it's adorable to have this cute cat in the story, what I really liked is the fact that it was able to actually serve a purpose in the story by assisting in finding out where Mau Mau is taken to. And since I'm on the topic, I might as well say the entire situation with Mau Mau essentially getting abducted by Suirei was pretty captivating. And of course, in the huge turn of events, we learned that Shisui was in on it as well. What's fascinating to me is that there doesn't necessarily seem to be any hostility towards Mau Mau from Shisui or Suirei, so I have to wonder what the reason is that they abducted her for in the first place. And speaking of Shisui, I had my suspicions that maybe she was related to concubine Lolan in some way because of how similar they look. But to find out that she is concubine Lolan was nuts. Now, they technically haven't confirmed whether she is or isn't Lulan, but I'd say they made it pretty clear that Shisui is Lulan. The thought never crossed my mind that they were the same person, so the idea that they are is crazy to me. These are some Attack on Titan level plot twists that I was not expecting to see. On top of all that, as I mentioned in my previous video, Suirei was clearly a very important character and I was very curious to find out why, but the way everything has gone down is far from what I was expecting. Now I'm super curious to learn more about Suirei's background and what her connection to the lady from the clinic is. Again, the Apothecary Diaries just continues to impress me with the detail in its storytelling. Every character and everything that happens all have some type of purpose and they always have some type of connection to one another, which I just absolutely love. I also really like the situation around Li Hua's pregnancy. Having Shin be someone so close to Li Hua while also being her biggest threat was definitely interesting. I really liked how Li Hua dealt with the situation as well. It's a moment that really made me appreciate her character, and just as a whole, Li Hua has grown on me a lot since her first introduction. And since I'm on the topic of pregnant woman, I have to talk about concubine Gyokyo. Gyokyo is a character I like a lot because to me, despite her status, she never acts as though she's better than anyone else. She seems very caring and accepting, especially when it comes to Mau Mau. It makes for some pretty funny moments when Gyokyo and Jinshi fight over who gets Mau Mau. But back to what I wanted to say earlier, in the most recent episode, Gyokyo ends up going into labor. Of course, throughout most of season 2, there's been a pretty significant portion dedicated around Gyokyo's pregnancy, which is what caused the events around Shin and Li Hua that I was talking about before. But now Gyokyo has gone into labor, and it's happening at a very interesting point in the story because as I already talked about, Mau Mau was abducted. So there's currently a lot of panic, primarily for Jinshi at the moment, and everything as a whole in the story is just super intense. Not to mention, Jinshi had nearly been assassinated recently just before Mau Mau went missing. And the whole situation revolving around Jinshi bringing Mau Mau on the hunting trip was interesting for many reasons, but especially the frog scene. I'm not going to say too much on that, but if you know, you know. As for some of the other things that happened so far that I really liked, one is definitely the Shrine of Choosing. I personally really liked that episode because it's obviously talking about the people with red-green color blindness. And it is a good representation of how the conflicts or mysteries are solved by Mau Mau. Because oftentimes people will come up with things like ghost stories or some type of unrealistic explanation for why things are the way they are. But Mau Mau gives actual reasoning and breaks things down based on real-life discoveries. It's just yet another thing that makes me love the Apothecary Diaries. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the former emperor and how his actions clearly have had a strong effect on the current events in the Apothecary Diaries. Like the situation with Suirei and the lady from the clinic being an obvious connection. But also another person who is connected to that is the lady who used to hold the meetings where several girls would share ghost stories. I hate to feel like I'm repeating myself, but yet again, this is another example of how much depth the story has, because we still have yet to learn the deeper meaning behind what happened when Mau Mau had attended the ghost story exchange thing. And it's also pretty clear the previous emperor had some issues and it really impacted a lot of people, so I want to see how that gets explored further. But finally, last but not least, I wanted to talk about the moments we got with Shenlong so far in Season 2. If you saw my last video, you know I talked about how I love seeing Shenlong make appearances throughout the first season. And in the second season, we got a whole bunch of new moments with Shenlong. The episode where Mao Mao went to the caravan with Xiaolon is one I enjoyed a lot, as well as the episode where Mao Mao made ice cream for Lulan. I've also really loved seeing that Xiaolon was getting educated in reading and writing, along with the fact that Jinshi was just trying to get all of the servant girls' education. But also the moments where Mao Mao essentially was teaching Xiaolon how to give the concubines massages so she'd hopefully be able to be hired by one of their families once her term is up. It's somewhat of a bittersweet thing for me. The main thing is that although it would be great to see Xiaolon be able to live freely, I hope it doesn't mean she'll end up leaving the story after season 2. That's really my biggest fear in terms of the future for the Apothecary Diaries, because it would suck for one of my favorite characters to leave the series. But at the same time, I feel like they wouldn't just go and completely abandon her character, so I've got hope that my concern is for no reason. But regardless of what happens, I cannot wait to see the final episodes of the second season over the next several weeks. Season 2 has been truly amazing so far, and I honestly wasn't sure if it was going to be able to top Season 1, but it definitely has. Anyways, thank you for watching my video discussing the second season of the Apothecary Diaries so far. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. Peace.